Now, Democrats just announced that the body of former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid would lie in state at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Now, the question is, regardless of where your politics are, is that appropriate? In terms of destructive political figures in modern American history, it's hard to argue Reid wasn't near the top. I want to read for you an interview he gave during the 2012 campaign about Mitt Romney and Romney's taxes. His poor father must be so embarrassed about his son, Reid said, in reference to George Romney's decision to turn over 12 years of tax returns when he ran for president. Reid went on to claim a person who had invested with Bain Capital called his office, "Harry, Mitt didn't pay any taxes for 10 years. Okay, well, it was proven false, right? And Reid then revealed his real character.
No regrets about Mitt Romney, about the Koch brothers, because some people have even called it McCarthyite.
Well, they call it whatever they want. Romney didn't win, did he?
Joining me now is Dinesh D'Souza, host of the Dinesh D'Souza podcast, and Victor Davis Hanson, Hoover Institution senior fellow. Dinesh, again, we're sorry to hear that Reid passed, but now this effort to kind of prop him up in this way, is that warranted in any way?
Well, I think it's a little obscene, to be honest. Now, I realize there's a tradition when someone dies, one maintains a dignified silence. I guess if Al Capone died, we'd be confined to talking about the fact that he made really good spaghetti and meatballs, could say nothing about what this man's life was defined by. Now, the same with Harry Reid. He has been a divisive and poisonous force in American politics. American politics is designed to be an argument, well, if not between friends, then at least among people who are not sworn enemies. And I think if we look back to American politics, we see Reagan didn't treat his opponents as enemies. Neither did Carter, neither did, by the way, Bill Clinton. So what changed and who changed it? Well, there are certain key figures, and Harry Reid is one of them, where they begin to treat their political adversaries as enemies, as people to be destroyed. And they look for ways to game the system, bringing almost like a Las Vegas gangster style to politics. And we're living with the ugly fruits of that today. In fact, it's hardening our hearts. Those of us who want to actually have arguments can't have them because we're in a mode of constant demonization and recriminations.
And Victor, people will say, well, Bob Dole, of course, he lay in state at the Capitol Rotunda. So this is just Republicans, playing, some political game here. How would you distinguish Dole and Reid in that regard?
I think Dole was considered tough, but he wasn't mean-spirited, and he mellowed. But what's ironic is how closely Harry Reid's life and career mirror imaged Joe Biden's. They were roughly the same age, 79 and 82. They spent decades in the Senate. They represented the supposed old centrist Democrats that were tough on crime, for the Iraq War, against abortion. They cultivated an image of good old Joe from Scranton, and Harry was from Searchlight, Nevada, common people, but they were actually very mean-spirited, as the way you pointed out with Mitt Romney, and Joe Biden saying, dog-faced pony soldier, fat, junkie. They both had a problem with race. I'll be candid about that. I mean, it's just surrealistic when you look what they both said about the candidacy of Barack Obama. Harry Reid said he was light-skinned and he could turn off and on his Negro dialect. It was almost exactly what Joe Biden said when he disparaged Obama as clean and articulate, the first person who was an African-American serious candidate. And finally, they viewed their senatorial careers as sort of family franchises. I mean, if you wanted to have a federal or state contract, or you wanted to get in on one in Nevada, you had to do business with the Reid family, the three boys, and the son-in-law, and the same was true of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's brother. And they viewed their senatorial careers as a way of making the family rich. In the end, you can see why the squad and the hard left took over the Democratic Party, because that old guard that Biden and Reid represented were opportunistic. They didn't have firm principles.
Yeah, they were transactional.
And they viewed, the career about getting rich rather than working for the American people.
All right, I gotta switch gears.